Hey everyone, welcome back to the Apex Files podcast brought to you by Racecomp Engineering. So far, we've had a lot of different drivers on our show, factory back Porsche drivers, drivers that work with large tuning shops, and drivers that come from a motorsports background or a motorsports family.
Yeah, but now we want to take a step back a little bit and focus on, the enthusiast guys, the grassroots enthusiast guys that are taking their own time and money, committing the time and money themselves to get the seat time, to make themselves known, and to just compete in these events that, a lot of people would travel far for, cross country, 3-4 hour drives or more, and that are just, want to build the sport, get their name out. And, we're looking forward to having these people on because there are a good few that need some recognition.
So let's get into it.
All right, guys. Welcome back to Apex Files, presented by Racecomp Engineering. So I'm Lawrence.
I'm Andrew.
And today we got a new guy joining us, Thomas Smith. Welcome.
Hey,
welcome.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Good.
Where are you calling in from?
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. Great. Cool.
All right. And so, we've heard about your explosion in the time attack scene, but it's crazy because you've been in the Subaru world for a long time now. Almost 10 plus years. So
more than it's been quite a while. Back when I used to drive for Zenkai Motorsports and Subaru Las Vegas, and back in the Redline Time Attack days.
Redline.
That's a throwback. The Redline Time Attack.
Yeah.
No, that Zenkai was that a dealership sponsored drive basically.
Yeah, they built the car with partnership with Crawford Performance, and I drove for them. They were all sort of friends that ran their performance department, so it was actually a stepping stone from my own car. We worked with Crawford a little bit on their cars. I drove their time attack car, and they gave me support on my car. And then we ended up building a car with the partnership of Subaru Las Vegas, and then we went racing.
That's awesome.
And was that that was a hatch, right? That was like an 08 hatch.
Yeah.
Was that the one that you did the like the Ken Block Invitational Gymkhana event with?
Yeah, in 2010.
Yeah. 2010. Okay, what was that event like? It was like kind of part drift, autocross, really cool for spectators. Looked like a lot of sideways action.
Right when Gymkhana was getting big, when the late Ken was doing all those crazy videos.
Yeah, it was pretty surreal. I had a lot of good people around me that had good connections that kind of made that happen. Friend Yuji was one of them, and he works for Vermont Sports Car now. But yeah, that was pretty cool. I actually got sponsored by Monster at that time too.
That's awesome.
Going into that event, and it was pretty surreal because the majority of the drivers that were on that roster were all pro drifters or GRC drivers and stuff like that. So it was. You
really had like cool. Tanner Faust. You had some big names going like competing against together, right?
Yeah, it was definitely a steep learning curve. I don't think I went into it with enough experience, but it was definitely a learning experience.
So I want to backtrack a little bit because you've had a lot of motorsport experience, like various types, HPD, you've done some wheel to wheel as well, right? And obviously, your main focus is time attack. Talk to us about that, that build up from your racing career, I guess, from the basic track days all the way up to now.
So I started with autocrossing, local autocross here in Las Vegas, and through the years, through friends that knew other companies, they wanted to start sponsoring a few drivers. I had a 06 WRX at the time, and I got sort of sponsored lightly for it was Subi Fest at Willow Springs. They were hosting a time attack event for that event, and sort of got a light sponsorship there. Did really well in the enthusiast class. Ended up, I was like 0.002 seconds slower than the driver of the Crawford Performance car, Russ War, back in the day. And that sort of got Crawford attention.
Yeah, I'm
And
sure. Yeah.
they're like, "Who's this guy? I've never seen him before." I remember they ended up calling like a tech inspection right before the final time attack session, just because they thought
You
something
thought you
weird
were
was going
cheating.
on.
Yeah.
uh,
Wow.
but yeah, that went really well, and I was so yeah, I lost by just the tiniest margin there, and created a relationship with Crawford Performance. They
Hmm.
actually invited me out to drive their 2008 Subaru STI at the STI Evo like tuner shootout
Mm.
battle back in the
I
day.
remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so then I had to work, but then I called out and drove out there 5 hours in the middle of the night, slept in front of the gate at Button Willow,
Oh
and
wow.
it was cold.
That's
So
commitment though, right? That's, you gotta do what you gotta do to get over there.
yeah,
That's all.
so I got there. I introduced myself. He said, "All right, let's get the car teched," and they threw me in the seat, and I ran my
Hmm.
laps for that day. And then one of the really cool caveats to that is that they threw Tanner Faust was driving their unlimited car that same week, that same race, and they threw him in the car the second day, and only went about 7/10 faster than me in the same
Nice.
car. So that was pretty
That's
cool.
that's awesome. I mean, so like, what were your emotions, something like that, to finding out like you're not that far off from a pro driver?
Yeah, that's always been my curiosity because I've always wanted to get to pro racing and things like that. So um, sort of seeing that benchmark against somebody who's seasoned and very well known, and his skill level is obviously top notch. So it was pretty cool to
Mhm.
see that I was in maybe the ballpark of some of
Yeah, yeah,
the
absolutely.
someone like that. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
But
those sound like those events sound like a really good like not just confidence builder, but setting you down a path to diving into motorsports and stepping up your involvement and and commitment too. Um, and so you mentioned autocross and your progression from like autocross to time attack, but you still do some autocross, right?
yeah, I do. It's not as much as I'd like right now because sort of the progression of time attack is really putting the car in the garage a lot more, just because
Yeah.
you're
Mhm.
trying to find time all the time. So I definitely want to get back to more of my regular autocrossing because I need the seat time.
Yeah. No, no. Is this your only car? Like
Yeah.
car basically.
Take the kids to school.
Yeah. Well, like or like, have you considered like maybe getting like a building a a total BRZ or something, or just a Miata or something, just to keep the seat time going for autocross, or basic track days or something like that. Something easy you can go out to for half a day and come back.
Yeah, I have. I like the BRZ platform. I've driven a handful of them with friends and stuff that were lightly tuned in suspension. It's a great platform. Um, I like the nimbleness of the steering and things like that, and got to be smooth with it. And but yeah, I have thought about that, and sort of kind of the direction that this car's going. I might need something like that because it's just getting a little towards the top end now, so it's tough budget wise and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard because you're the even super lot battle, global time attack, grid life, like all the series, even when they say street class, and then you look at these cars, you're like, get out of here. There's no way that's a street car, right?
Yeah,
but then like your car is very tame for being a street car. Like for instance, or you see like Jackie Ding's car and his crazy arrow. Like your arrow is still pretty mild, but yet your super lap battle results. I mean, that proves itself. Like you're a great driver, first time at that track, and you put those times up. So it's the level of competition in street class is just raising exponentially every year, right? So you have to take these steps to stay competitive, correct?
yeah, absolutely. And when Amir set that 213 last year, it was just the bar just went into the clouds. So I know I was talking with Jackie, and yeah, he was just like they just kind of got caught with their pants down. Like Amir just
Mhm.
put it all in and put the lap down. So yeah, now Jackie's there. So I'm just kind of doing the math on how this platform could make up that gap. There's definitely,
while staying street class, correct? Because you don't want to take you don't want to make that jump. All right.
Yeah, because my goal for this car has always been to keep it relatively true to the street class mentality. Like I don't want this to be a complete track car, like race car. Like I'd love to go out on the weekend, maybe drive it around a little bit and just enjoy the car. And it's getting closer to that point where it's just like it's super dedicated to that. But I'm also super competitive too. So
yeah, it's the right balance for you, right? For street and trackability.
And there still is a lot of there's still a lot of areas that I can improve on this car too. So it's just kind of a money thing at this point.
Yeah, I think that's like the spirit of street class or maybe even time attack in general is like competitive with your competitors. But I think a lot of people are competitive with themselves and like just want to get themselves as a driver in the car to a certain goal and just keep improving it. And like that in itself is a goal, which is pretty cool. I would love to see it reined in like a little bit so that it's more to that like actual street class thing, like you said. Like you could just take it out for some canyons without trailering it to the canyons or something like that.
And I've been kind of bugging the GTA officials about it, like, hey, it'd be nice if you kind of opened up the tire width rule for all-wheel drive. It's not really at the level that tire technology and just aftermarket performance part technology, the advantage that you get with, what is it, 60 mil more of tire. Because I'm limited to a 265 and they can run a 295. So like I'm not an engineer, but I'm sure there's
there's something missing there, right?
There's significant lateral grip gains between 60 mil of contact patch. So
and the other thing is like you guys aren't limited to horsepower at all, correct? Like you can run, you can throw all the big turbo at that car and still be stuck at 265 tires.
Yeah. So managing the tire temps is pretty difficult. But the engine side is it's open. So that's why Jackie went that way, because his car is not as light. It's not as light as Amir's car. So he had to go down that road, and now he makes 760 and I'm over here 550 wheels. So
okay. So that was what I was asked, so now are you going to try to stick with that power, or do you plan to bump up a little more as well?
So I was going to bump it up a little bit more. My biggest thing is keeping the car balanced. Like every area of the car needs to be balanced for the performance level. So I can just raise the whole bar and not just like have horsepower and suspension, which like right now, 550 is a really good balance. I have it reliable. The car runs really cool. Like at super lap battle or global time attack finals, I think I popped the hood once on this car, which is really, it's a long way and it's a long time coming that I've made this package, this engine package, as reliable as it is now. Like this block on this car, it's been refreshed, but it's been in this car, I think, for 7 years.
Wow. So, that's amazing. And I assume you've tackled the heat soak overheating problem with these cars, especially, out on the West Coast.
So that's a really big deal out here. Like I never wanted to track my car over 80 degrees ambient. The car just couldn't handle it, especially with me driving it. So I'm an on and off switch, so no middle ground. But I've done a lot. Spall racing fans, I've changed the coolant flow configuration a little bit, running like a radium universal expansion swirl pot tank, and then changing the layout of where that tank plumbs into the system. It's not where it typically does, just because of how the the layout with the top down radiators, how they flow down instead of like a cross flow. So the expansion tank's actually teed into the lower hose, so it's after it's cooled. So there's less. One thing that can happen with these cars is that the basically water pump pressure exceeds with a cap. So you're just pushing fluid out even though it's not overheating, and then it overheats because you pushed all the coolant out. So but I did a lot of that stuff before Long Beach Global Time Attack, and then I have a whole like shrouding box now that ducts all the air out of the radiator up towards the hood where the vent is, and cooling just is it's
So it's
really
actual
good.
proper airflow that's getting through and everything.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
I mean, so also Long Beach. I mean, this is pretty awesome to be driving streets of Long Beach in your own street car, right? Like, I mean, you know, I've seen, you know, miles there for races. I've seen in cars of, you know, the pro racing and stuff. But something about seeing a street car, like especially a Subaru guy, it's like a Subaru on, it's just badass, right? Like, how surreal was that experience?
That it was kind of stressful going up to it. Like, I know that I was asking Jason at Global Time Attack, like, how do we get into this? What's going on? Like, what's the structure? There was kind of some question marks, and then he came out saying that it was invite only, and then it was a limited number. It was only like 20 competitors. So he obviously with the series, you want to promote like the fast guys and stuff. So, but some of the people couldn't make it. So I was on a wait list, and then I really didn't have time off approved for it. And I was just kind of like, let me just prep the car anyway and get it ready. And then it finally was like, hey, couldn't get the person I was looking for. You're next on the list.
That's awesome.
You're in. And then the entry fee was quite a lot, more in the realm of what Coda was, but something is just a bucket list thing. Like, when's the next time GTA might go back there? So
right.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's something you get the opportunity, you have to make it happen if you can. Is there like another track you'd really want to do in the United States, at least for Time Attack?
Yeah, I'd like to go Road Atlanta. I haven't been to that one.
Yeah.
That's a really high speed track. I'm not sure if my gearing would be good there, but that's definitely another one. I've seen Barber Motorsports Park, looks really good. Those are some.
So backtrack. You're talking about, you know, before we started, you're a new trans in the car. Are you on a stock STI trans, or is it, you know, just upgraded gears?
Yeah, it's just a stock trans case. I did a rally spec long gear ratio set, which those broke at Button Willow. So I'm trying a little different gear ratio on it now. So we're going to see. I was talking with Marcos from Snail a little bit about it a few months back. And he's like, I think you should probably use this gear ratio. And because we were comparing,
so he's got a lot of experience with, especially the same chassis too, with all.
Yeah. And so we were just like, we were comparing mile and hours at Button Willow and stuff like that. And we were very close on time, but his mile an hour was much higher.
Interesting.
So it's like, okay, I might be a little quicker in some of the corners, but his mile an hour is like 11 mile an hour faster going into the last corner. And it's like, that's a huge difference. So we'll try those gear sets.
Yeah. Is there like a mod that you have that's like really been like a game changer for the car outside of the motor, like suspension or like seats, getting you more in tune with the car, or anything like that?
I do have, what is it? I have a aftermarket control arms in the front. They're still within the rule set. They don't move the pickup points more than an inch. But the biggest reason why I changed those was I was using like an anti-lift kit. And I was just having those fail constantly. So just the loads and everything are just too much. And so I was like, I got to find a solution. So I went with this control arm, and now it's a Heim joint for the lower ball joint. And I ran it for the first time at Long Beach. I actually emailed GTA rules and made sure they were legal.
Yep.
And they were all good with it. But those felt like they changed the front end grip quite a bit with the geometry of those arms.
Tackling the understeer from these cars.
Well, yeah,
car,
I mean
this car really doesn't have a lot of understeer too much anymore. One of the big opportunities now is in the coilover system. I've sort of I'm running a KW variant 3. And
is it just an off-the-shelf unit? It's not like there's no specific valve or anything. It's just wow. So I assume you have linear rear springs in the rear, right? It's full.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been talking with KW about like changes to make and things like that, brainstorming with them. And so I've sort of found the spring rate that holds the platform steady at this point. And now I'm just out of the realm that the valving can keep up for the off the shelf. But the range that I got to and like the speed that I've got to with an off the shelf coilover, I think is just amazing for the KW. But now I need something a little more race and specific to the car. So that's the next change. And I think that'll make a big difference for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, V3s are super solid coilover for track days and stuff. And your car is getting a little bit past that, especially you got like a little bit of aero and stuff.
The fact that they're off the shelf ones, that's pretty impressive.
Are you so working with KW? They're like, I assume they have like something in mind, or you might have something in mind for like that next step after the V3s.
Yeah, so I've been talking with one of their race engineers and one of their damper techs, and they suggest to go with EXR two-way.
Okay.
And
interesting. Okay. I was because you're not well, I don't think you're limited by suspension in street class, correct? So you could go a three-way if you wanted to.
No, it has to be a two-way.
Oh, it has to be two. Okay.
Yeah. The EXRs are that's some good stuff.
Yeah, and they're really definitely fun. They can build them 2-3 ways too in the future if you need to. So but yeah, the loads that I was seeing at COTA last year. So they're just like it's too much for that coilover. You need something more digressive. So
do you know how much downforce you're putting down?
Not really. I've talked with Pro Awesome, Dan at Pro Awesome, and he did some rough calculations, and he was like, "Oh, I think you're probably making around this," and I'm like, "Really? I don't know. Like I made this in my garage. I don't know about that."
Do you know what the car weighs around?
Yeah, it's like 3160 or so without me.
And is AC still?
What's that?
Is there AC still or no?
No AC.
No AC. Okay, and back half is stripped.
Relatively, yeah. There's still. I have some aftermarket trim panels that kind of finish it off.
Oh yeah, make it look nice in there. Yeah.
Yeah, but all the seat belts and things are out of the back. Yeah, they're not that light. They're just plastic panels. So.
Yeah. Well, I remember we had a customer. He came by with a fully track prep GD STI strips, just 2 seats, and that was my first time driving one of those. And I'm like, man, these things are so light. Compared to I have a 2015 STI, and compared to that, even with mild power, that something about the GD and the lightness, it feels small. Yeah, right. Cool. Yeah.
That's one of the things I like about this car is it feels compact and it's very easy to know where the boundaries are for the car. But getting weight out of the car is definitely one of my focus points right now to sort of combat me not having to go to a big power level and compromising the reliability. So
right.
And I mean, we talked about like Redline Time Attack and some of like the tuner shootouts and stuff like that. And it seems like back in those days, I'm feeling old now. There was a lot of the big shops kind of have like a shop tuner car, and there's a lot of like gosh, like Crawford's going up against so and so, and what's
AMS,
yeah, and
top speed.
Top speed, that's right. Yeah. And then, so it was like, it seems like that's changed a little bit. Like maybe in Unlimited, there's Life Motorsports or whatever. And some of the faster street guys are kind of building things, building their own kind of company and stuff. But it does seem to be more like individuals now, even towards like the fast end of the field. What do you think about that? Like, because you're kind of like a one-man show, and you got like a crew, kind of, right? Like you got a couple of friends that help you out and some sponsors and stuff like that. But it's all those guys in the back there.
Yeah.
So what's that like? Just like I like that part of it, especially for street class. But I wonder if that's going to change.
Right, because most of the guys, we do that for HPD, but you're on the next level of that. But you're still, you haven't grown at all. So he's grown.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're grown, but your shop, it's your team hasn't grown much. So
yeah. It's mostly just me that I do in my spare time. I'm kind of I guess a little bit OCD about the car and sort of trusting a lot of people. So I try to do as much as I can. But the car, at the level it's getting now, it's kind of getting to the level where I need more custom stuff. And my fabrication skills are non-existent as far as like welding and things like that. So yeah, I do probably need a couple more partners to start working with to help out. But I do have a really good friend, my friend Eladio. He owned a suspension prep shop for 10 years here in Vegas. And now he works with a couple manufacturers with IMSA teams as far as suspension prep. And me and him are always bouncing ideas, talking about racing and stuff. And that's kind of what we really love to do. So, and our sort of hashtag between ourselves is just doing more with less. So it's kind of a joke between us. But
at that time between you and your buddy, like you save a lot of money and everything else that you can spend that towards a car or other places to get racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely saves, because labor is so expensive nowadays from any shop. So it could be just as much as the parts you're putting in, dependent on what you're doing. So like I had never tackled a transmission before, and nobody really wanted to tackle an STI transmission. So I just started doing some research and tore it down. It's back together now, and it's ready to go in the car. So. But yeah, I'm a technician by trade, so I work on cars for a living. So not too much of a stretch.
Yeah, basically, and the Subarus are relatively easy to work on, really, especially once you get like the basics down of it.
Sure.
Legos.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a couple sockets, 12, 14, 17.
Yeah. Yep. But so you said you had 06 WRX before. What made you get this STI? Were you looking at anything else that that caught your eye? Any other chassis?
Actually, in the beginning, I wanted an STI or an Evo, but I couldn't afford either one of them at the time because I was just a young kid who didn't make enough money. And so the WRX was the next best thing. So then I got that. I had it for about 2.5 years and did some light mods. It was like a stage 2. It was actually tuned by Snail Performance, Travis, and then just springs, intercooler, fuel pump, brake pads, brake lines. That's it. And
basics.
Did pretty well with that. And unfortunately, I crashed that car, fell asleep at the wheel, and wrecked and totaled it. So I had a buddy that had this car. He was sort of selling it, but it wasn't advertised. And talked with him, and we made a deal, and it's been mine ever since. So second owner. He loves watching what I've done with the car too. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so some people originally say they had that sentimental value of watching that car leave, and probably would never see it again right after they sell it. So it's cool he gets to see it progress.
Yeah, is it a forever car for you, or do you have like a plan to replace it with something, or like what's your 5-year plan for yourself and the car?
For the car, I don't really know, like 5-year wise. Like obviously, short term, I'm trying to get to the top of street class for now. I just know the rabbit hole, like going into limited or anything beyond that, is just probably well beyond my budget. Um, but for me, like I really enjoy time attack, but I think my passion is with wheel to wheel. And I'd like to kind of get back to that. I did SCCA racing wheel to wheel for about 5 years, um, and that was really cool. And then one year I got and I think it's 2015, I had a SCCA World Challenge license, but I
Oh,
just couldn't
nice. Okay.
get any funding to go that route. So
I mean, even after your performance, have you gotten any inquiries or offers, or I'm sure you've popped up on other people's radars as well.
um, I think there's partnerships or relationships that I already had that they're like, how can we help you, like, and kind of move on to the next level and stuff. So I have those there. I just need to align certain other things, finances, with those goals and really execute them on that fact.
Yeah, because we know it's a couple of guests we had, Gresham Wagner, he's racing the inaugural GR Cup race today in Sonoma. We've talking about him. Even the pro driver Kevin Estra. It's a lot of these kids, especially nowadays. It's a paid sport, right? You're paying to drive, and which makes it hard for guys like us, especially you, who's fast, who's proven, but it needs some backing, which it's not hard, it's not easy to come by. So there would be nice if there's some way of funneling people like you through to a Spec Miata or GR8 fix up, right?
Yeah, I do follow his team with, I think it's Tech Sport.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I was really excited when I saw the GR Cup, and I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. But yeah, there's just the funding. There was a short amount of cars. They kind of filled up pretty quick.
Yep.
But I was surprised how quickly they filled up fast. I mean, they're not cheap, but it does seem like it'd be a good fit for you and for a couple other people too. But they really got snatched up quick, which is great. But maybe we'll see a bigger field next year or something like that.
Do you do any sim racing at all, especially for these new tracks to help prepare?
I do have sort of not like a really super involved sim, but just kind of a basic one. I don't do as much as I like to sometimes, but I did use it going to COTA for the first time, and I actually went over to my buddy's house who has iRacing and did some testing for COTA going into that as well.
That's awesome.
And really figured out that mine wasn't as accurate as his, and but when I got there, like the spacing, the track width and stuff it wasn't as accurate as I thought it was going to be. So it was sort of kind of learning from scratch anyway, which personally, I'm pretty good at learning fast behind the seat. So yeah, so it wasn't too bad.
Would you account that to a lot of autocrossing? Just of the features of different courses, like every weekend having to adapt?
Yeah, I think it's sort of it's a mental thing, sort of knowing what the car is going to do in situations too helps you prepare ahead of times, and so you can push harder going into the first time, but also having that good seat of the pants feel as well. There was a time that I drove 3 different drivetrain platforms going in one event, and then I recorded it's on YouTube, but it's pretty cool to see going from an FR front wheel drive to an all-wheel drive in the same event, and similar competitive times, but sort of based on the car preparation and track.
That's pretty cool. You're talking about like adapting to the car and like knowing how it's going to behave in different situations and corners and whatever. Sounds like you might want to try some rally driving.
I do. Yeah, I have a friend, Ray Pilato out here in Vegas that was in the rally and stuff and followed him. And
Mhm.
it really intrigues me. And I followed WRC and everything like that. And
Yeah.
I'd love to try it, and followed Ken and everybody like that. And
Mhm.
I'd really like to. I did a little bit, because I was on a show called Octane Academy in like 2012, and they used a Team O'Neill front wheel drive Fiesta rally car, and I remember I made a mistake, so it kind of lost the competition for me. But I remember the first couple turns we were going in after the practice for the competition, and I was just staying flat because it's a front wheel drive. You got to stay in it to drive the car you need to. And I
Uh-huh.
just remember Tim O'Neill was sitting in the passenger seat, and I was like, after like the second or third corner, he's like, "Wow." And then I made a mistake. I had like target asphyxiation towards a tree. I was just trying to use the track width, and there was like a berm, and I sucked into the berm, and sort of made a big mistake. But I just remember him making that comment while I was driving. I was like, "Oh."
That's
Like, this
that's
guy's
awesome.
really he's got a lot of experience in it, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, more back in that, someone should pick you up and throw you in a pro car, because it seems like you just got the natural, the talent just behind the wheel. You know.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
definitely an enjoyment of mine for sure. It's a passion.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
I don't
Well,
like, I like building this car, but I
mhm.
like driving it more, so that's been the pursuit, to make it more reliable so I can get more seat time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thomas, we want to thank you so much for joining us today. This has just been great talking to you. Just the fact that you've been in the scene for so long, you've dealt with so many people throughout the industry, and to see your progress in your car, and just it's like one of the things about you and your car is that you're still very relatable to the very enthusiasts, right? Nothing's like too crazy yet. Like, again, you have that good balance of a street car and a track car, which a lot of people strive to do. For something that you can daily drive, or take to on the weekends. So we're looking forward to seeing the rest of the year plan out, and what you got in store.
Yeah. If you want to shout out any sponsors or website or anything like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Some of the partners I have on the with the help of this car is Gummy Grip, Garrett Turbos, KW helps out a little bit, Wed Sport Wheels, and White Lion. Those are some of the really good supporters I have right now, and hopefully we can keep pushing to the top of the podium.
Yeah, that's
cool.
awesome. Hopefully you get some more, and we see some more stickers on that car.
For sure. I appreciate it.
Cool.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks, Thomas.
See ya.
All right, take it easy.